Namaste and good evening, everyone. I, Ritika Gupta, Assistant Director at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan, Nai Delhi, extend my heartiest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. Today, we are here for a special talk on social economy and social finance, the importance of strengthening their ecosystems by Professor Leandro Morais. This talk is being organized by Center for Human Dignity and Development at IMPRI, along with Center for Development, Communication and Studies, Jaipur. We have with us Professor Sunil Ray as chair for the series. Professor Ray is the former director of Sinha Institute of Social Studies, Patna, and advisor at CDECS and IMPRI. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Professor Ajit Kumar Pande, who is professor at Department of Sociology, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Welcome, sir. We are also delighted to have Dr. Meghadeepa Chakraborty. Ma'am is the visiting faculty at Banasthali Vidyapith, Jaipur. Ma'am was former academic exchange fellow at Asian Research Center in London School of Economics and Political Sciences, London, UK. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. We also have with us Dr. Rajendra Paramanik. Sir is the assistant professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Patna. Welcome, sir. It is my delight to introduce to you our speaker for today, Professor Leandro Morais. Sir holds PhD in Socioeconomic Development and Labor Market from State University of Campinas, Unicamp, Brazil. Sir is professor and researcher at Department of Economics at Sao Paulo State University. He is also associated with many multilateral organizations. He's lead researcher at NEPESC. He's also member of United Task Force on Social and Solidarity Economy and UN High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. He is technical consultant to ILO International Training Center on Solidarity Economy, SDG, New Technologies and the Future of Work, South-Southern Triangle Cooperation. With these introductions, I request Professor Ray to give his opening remarks and invite Professor Morais for his talk. Sir, over to you. Thank you. Professor Ray, over. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Are you able to see me? I'm not yes. Visible. Am I?
Yes. Sunil sir, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for having introduced the panelists and all of us. But I'm not able to see myself, this, is it all right now? Are you able to see me?
Yes. Yes, we are able to see you.
Okay, that's fine. You see this, it's quite pleasant for me. And at the same time, it's more exciting to see some of my old colleagues over here. And I thank Dr. Arjun to give us, all of us, an opportunity to meet together, to discuss something which is very close to our heart after quite some time. And at the same time, its relevance, you could say, when you are really every part of the world is suffering from what is called pandemic. We are all at vulnerable situation. We are all at risk. We do not know where exactly we are proceeding towards. Our civilization is at stake. This is precisely what we hinted at in our book. Two of authors here, Meghadeepa and Dr. Professor Leandro Morais, they are here to, contributed to the idea that we need to have a different kind of a methodology, different kind of a understanding of state and society. In other words, a different and alternative development paradigm. Now here, Dr. Arjun has floated this forum, a series of lectures. This is the fourth lecture Professor Leandro Morais is going to deliver in the series. And he wanted me to be here as not only chairing, but moderating the program, at the same time to initiate the dialogue. The whole purpose he has conceived, IMPRI has conceived, that we need to have an alternative. We need to demystify the development paradigm that we have been following for centuries. We need to follow a different paradigm just because the extant paradigm, the extant development paradigm that the entire world after the industrial revolution has been following. May it be India, may it be Brazil, may it be any part of the world, you find that it has brought misery to the humans to a significant extent. At every level, you find not only inequality, not only dispossession, not only deprivation, is a torture, exploitation at the one hand. On the one hand, you find the flourishing individual, flourishing people, flourishing society at some other corner, some level. And that's the division or the dichotomy of the society. Dichotomy of the economy has been increasing over a period of time. Now, the question is to every one of us, sister, why should we continue with this one? Very simple question. The one which does not really resolve the crisis of humanity. The one which really always heightens the problems of the society and every individual being. Why should we stick on to that? Who wants us to stick on to that? We need to get out of this trap. It's a big trap. That is what has been imposed on us. We need to tear it off. We need to get out of it and see a different kind of alternative paradigm. Alternative may not be a big one, but at the same time, the liberty, fraternity, and at the same time, the freedom to choose. That is something which is very important for us to really recognize, choose for. Now, this is precisely where this particular institution is engaged, says that we need to demystify this kind of development paradigm theories that we have been teaching in the universities and colleges. We are also being taught, but what importance that it has got, it really brings misery to the people and nature. And nature devastation, you could see. I am going through a number of literature to write a piece, and that is being asked. I have been invited to do that one. The ecology and what is called ecology and this pandemic. Many people have been writing, trying to attempt to write something, developing a contact between the two. But the question is at the same time, one may not be having a scientific relationship immediately with this COVID-19 and what is called this ecological disaster. But there is what is called something which is happening all over, right from for last several decades, the depletion of the resources, exhaustion, and also disturbing the ecology, ecosystem all over the world is something which is being misery to the people. I do not want to talk more on that, but the fact of the matter is that there is an imbalance between the two. And why this ecological destruction is taking place? Only for human consumption. So long as you have a system of exploitation, so long as you have a system of what is called discrimination, something of this kind that is there, the market system has been imposed on people. It's the market system which is being nurtured by the capitalism is something which has been dividing the people, which has been resilient, what has been tearing up the what is called prosperity of the people who are looking for the prosperity, looking for a change, looking for development, not allowing this kind of things to happen. So it is for the few people, for the society to really prosper, to gain access to everything. Now, and that is what ecosystem has been really, and which is why being dampened, is being also tinkered with, is being destroyed in many places throughout the country. So in other words, what I'm trying to say, a paradigm that you have with us, this paradigm we have been following has brought what's called misery to the people, misery to the nature. And we are teaching the same stories, same things, same theories in different manners, different ways. May it be sociology, may it be economics, may it be any other social science subjects, and especially the economics that has been what is called is something criminalizing the development pattern of the whole of this world, something which is very important for us to take note of. Now, how to really get out of this one? This forum is trying to really search for a kind of alternative and looking forward some of the enlightened panelists like you to see something, to really contribute to the understanding of this, what is called a development, new alternative paradigm, new paradigm, and so on and so forth. Now here, Professor Leandro, whose contribution has been very, very significant in this field, especially the social solidarity economics. Essentially, the question comes, why? This is very important for us to stress upon, because so for this, the development model that we have been following is something which is individualistic. It follows the principles of individual methodological individualism right from the beginning. It follows the individual interest. It's not collectivism. Now, it is necessary for us to go back to the whole understanding of collectivism, a collective idea, not typical government-sponsored cooperativism. It's a new cooperative, new form of collectivism. People together to do something on their own, to decide their destiny as to how to go about in the future. Professor Leandro, he really worked very hard and has shown in his works, now the social solidarity economy in Brazil has really taken a great shape and is possible for resolving different types of criticalities of human survival at different points of time and different levels of development. He has shown his papers, his works, and it is precisely where he talks about social solidarism. It basically is nothing but what is called collectivism of the people. The collectivism, that is what exactly he is going to emphasize, and he talks about the topic on social economy and social finance, the importance of strengthening their ecosystem. It is this social economy, it is this collective economy, it is this solidarity economics on which he is going to focus. And I'm sure the learned panelist is a very, very learned panelist, will be able to really shed some very critical thinking on this presentation so that it will be very much enlightening for us. Mind it, our purpose is to see a difference from what that you're following and difference from what following and what we are planning to really conceive, we are planning to see in future to happen. What you are talking today may not be there day after tomorrow on the doorstep. It is a process. This process has begun. This process, this institute has initiated. This is something which need to admire. I thank Professor Dr. June for having taken such a great initiative, really, to take us forward, to see that all of us coming together, to think together, to see that something happens together. Thank you so much. And may I request to this brief introduction, Professor Leandro Morais, to speak on social economy and social finance, the importance of strengthening their ecosystem. Thank you so much, Professor Leandro.
Thank you. Good morning from Brazil. Good evening to India. It's a big pleasure to me to be here with you. I'm reading always the book, The Rising Cohesive Development, Professor Sunil, and we participate. It's a big opportunity to be here with you discussing about initiatives to try to change this context. Professor Sunil told us before that's a very, very versatile context overall in these days of the pandemic COVID-19 in Brazil and India. Also, we have that a bad situation of lives, and we need to think opportunities to change these contexts. I'm here to share. Yeah.
Yes, it's working. Yes, we can see it. It's working.
Okay. Then I will talk with you. That's a good opportunity to discuss and to socialize, to share a real situation here, a real experience here in Brazil that I had the opportunity to learn a lot in India when I visited India in 2014 and also 2017 twice. And I know that you have a good experience in social finance, and I learned a lot when I was in India. And here I break phrase to inspire our discussion that I like so much, the never beforehand an historical moment being witnessed like that of current worldwide resistance movements, which are challenging the epistemological basis of the mainstream development paradigm rooted in the capital system. It's a phrase of Professor Sunil Ray that he told us before in this contest, he exposed us. My history with India, which is a country that I love, that I like so much, because the history, it's a very, very interesting history. And it started in 2014 when I was with Professor Anup Dash, and we participated in a project in ILO, International Labour Organization, that we studied and we mapped the social and solidarity economy landscape in India and Brazil through South-South triangular cooperation. It's a good opportunity that I learned a lot, and I visited some organizations in Bihar, and it was very, very interesting. But what we are doing here, I think that we are change some experience, change some reflections, and we are doing South-South triangular cooperation. South-South triangular cooperation, SSTC, taking initiatives in the social, economic, environment, technical, and political realms. Manifestation of solidarity, egalitarian partnership based on solidarity, tripartism and building of consensus and cooperation between the actors, social dialogue, shared interest emerges out of a socioeconomic demand, respect for autonomy, peculiarities, and priorities at national level, cross-cutting nature of actions and objectives, cooperation between trade unions and universities, strengthening of knowledge and research capacity for intervention in policies and organizational development. There are good aspects of South-South triangular cooperation, and I think that here we are doing one of them, that's sharing experience in the real SCSE organizations. Then I think that SSTC can act as a complementary instrument of support to the economic and the social development of the territories. I think that I will show to you a real experience about social finance that changed some realities in the territory. There are direct connections between social solidarity economy and the South-South triangular cooperation, because I think that we are talking about collective practices of sustainable development that contribute to building a more just and egalitarian world by linking economy to society, local to global, labor to investment, and protection, consumption, and environment. Maybe it's a dream or it's a utopia, but how can we change the dream or the utopia in the reality? I think that some experiences like this can show us some light in this context. And maybe to connect with some SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I think that's a good reference to think about change this context, which Professor Sunil Ray told us before, in terms of the 17 points of the SDGs. It's complex task, but I think that we need to think about these conditions. Despite these potentialities of SSE experience are marked by structural weaknesses. Among the challenges, the financial issue is central. Thus, the social finance constitutes an immensely important matter for the existence and maintenance of social and solidarity economic organizations, and for generation of work, especially in economic systems in which the access to financial support to these types of organizations is difficult or unfeasible. Social finance, it's a fundamental part of social and solidarity economy. And we have some kinds of social finance possibilities, like solidarity exchange, cooperatives of credit, community development banks, social currency, solidarity revolving funds. That's a different kinds of social finance, like cooperatives of credit, community development banks. In this presentation, I will show you a real experience in community development banks. But before, I think that's important to have in mind that there are direct connections between social solidarity economy, social finance, South-South triangular cooperation, SDG, and local economic development, which is new productive behaviors within the territory, based on partnerships, cooperation, bottom-up actions, community development and generation of social capital, economic, social, and environment aspects, social finance contributes to territorial development and often increases productivity. This is an experience in Brazil that connects these issues we are talking about. And I know, and after I'd like to hear from you about India, because I think that India is a country that has important experiences in social finance, in community development banks. And here in Brazil, we have a good experience. This Banco Mumbuca, Mumbuca is the name, it's an Indian name, Mumbuca. The Communitary Development Bank and social currency of Mumbuca is in the city of Maricá in the state of Rio de Janeiro. It's a global, local experience. And several countries in the north and the south are getting to know this very interesting experience that connections all the elements that we discussed earlier. It's a city, it's a beautiful city with beach in the state of Rio de Janeiro. It's a city that it has petroleum, oil, Maricá's oil income, the most important part of the money of the city origins in the oil. But on the other hand, this is a poor city with the most part of population. And the population with the local government creating a sovereign wealth fund, which has already achieved a total value, it's a very important amount, to offer a platform for the city in which a sizable share of the population lives in poverty to enter to the financial market on favorable terms with resources that could exceed 1 billion in the next decade. As it grows, the income from this fund will enable the city to lower costs of capital for critical development projects while guarantee key social programs in perpetuity. Mumbuca and other relation actions, because this is the community development bank, and this is connected to the local public policy to attend poor people in the city. That's the most part of population. With a basic citizenship income program, Municipal Council for Food and Nutritional Security in Maricá, Municipal Cooperative Policy, Mumbuca Minimum Income Program, Basic Citizenship Income Program, Solidarity Productive Credit, Mumbuca Indigenous Program, and Educational Program Mumbuca Future, which have transversal areas in this community development bank that permits the people to buy food, to buy things, clothes, and with this move the local commerce with the social currency, but also the local government put in a public policy, a public local policy with other areas of social protection like minimum income, education, health, food and nutritional. It's a link with this program. And about the social currency, which is part fundamental of social finance, key elements for the success of a local development program happens, like social control, because there is a governance, a democratic and participative governance from the people who are the participate in this program. Good governance management, robustness in scale and scope, because they also try to put in this program every storage of the city, the commerce in general. It's linked, like, as I told you, with the public policy, and they have an extensive articulation with the local private sector also. Impacts that they are evaluating, measuring: expansion of the local dynamics of private and solidarity economy enterprise, generation of work and income, poverty reduction, democratic governance, emancipation of low-income human. There is another point that I like to hear from you, because another aspect that I learned a lot when I was in India are the programs for human, emancipation of human. I have this memory with some experiences I saw and I learned in India about emancipation of low-income human, that I know that you have some important experience in this. And also boosting sustainable tourism. That's another point, important to generate income for this population. Another question of this experience is that it's possible to link some results, some outcomes of the evaluation of this experience in some SDGs, like 1, poverty eradication, 2, zero hunger, 3, health and wellness, 4, quality education, 5, gender equality, 8, decent work, 10, reducing inequalities, and partnership with the SDG number 17. Mumbuka, it's an interesting experience in terms of South-South cooperation, because a number of countries, especially in Latin America, are coming to know the experience to try to reapply, not to reply, but reapply, because we have to have some conditions of the territories in their countries as an instrument for generation work, income, insertion of young people with technology and social innovation, economic dynamism in the territories, etc. But we know that this experience and other experiences in social and solidarity economy is characterized by weaknesses, fragilities, structural and conjunctural fragilities. And to face these weaknesses and fragilities, it's very important to build and to foster the ecosystem for the social and solidarity economy. Let's say the actors that involve the territory, like the university, the public sector, the private sector, trade unions, then we need to think how we can to strengthen the ecosystem for the social and solidarity economy. Overall, in this time with the pandemic, and how can we think in a structure of organization of the ecosystemic process of solidarity entrepreneurship? Like an structure of, we need knowledge, market access, public and fiscal support for startups of SSE, access to financial support, because of this financial, it's very important, like this we're talking about social finance, instruments to support networks and mutual support, and development of research and qualification in the area. And also it's important to include the capacity to create social solidarity economy evaluation and monitor indicators. I think it's a big challenge in this moment. How can we create indicators to evaluate and to monitor, to measure the actions, to measure the outcomes. Because it's not only in economic terms. We need to put an holistic methodology to try to measure this experience in terms of economic, but in terms of social, cultural, environment aspects. Then we need to think not in the economic indicators, simple economic indicators, but it's a huge methodology, an holistic methodology to evaluate these questions. It's a difficult and complex task, but extremely relevant, being one of the great challenges in the 21st century. Then I will short my presentation because I would like to hear from you about this experience and about experience in India, that how is today, in this moment, the social finance in India with the pandemic. Because again, I have India as an important example to learn about social finance and the consequences and the impacts of this experience in the territories. Then I think that I will stop here because again, we don't have much time and I would like to have this opportunity to hear from you and to put now a seed of discussion that we can continue. And I would like to maintain with you a permanent kind of discussion and to share information, to share evaluation, to share about this experience, not only today, but from today for the permanent space and opportunity to be with you discussing this question overall in this time, because I think that Brazil and India need to share, need to learn it together, need to more reciprocity to face this moment and to face this contest that Professor Sunil Ray told us, exposed us before. Thank you very much.
Sunil sir.
Yeah.
Sunil sir, if you can unmute yourself.
It's mute, Professor Sunil, it's mute.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Morais. I'm really so happy. In a very short span of time, you really put forward very interesting model, very important model. And I must say is extraordinarily relevant. This is something which I would like to read more on this. I'd like to read more. And there's a very important thing that, how do you operationalize the solidarity economy? The question is this: how do you operationalize? Conceptualization is one part of the story, but the other part is how does it get operationalized in practice? And that too within the metabolism of capitalism. We are all living in the system of capital system. Now within this metabolism, you need to get out of, and how really operationalize, economics of, solidarity economics, something which Morais is talking about. And this is a model and something which I really felt so important. And I felt enlightened. The finance he brings to the center of everything. And that is something which is very important. That is very, very important. You cannot talk in the air. Now, if the finance is not there, is something is very difficult for you to initiate any activity by any person. Now, today you find this large number of people. I have been addressing this problem, unemployment. Not only in India, Brazil, everywhere throughout the world, unemployment problem has become severe. Much more severe it has become in countries like India. Much more severe. People are out of job, apart from the people who have never got a job. Now, how do you tackle it? Now, it is precisely where you just visit this model Professor Leandro's model and see how is it possible for us to really look forward. Is it possible for us to cut the ice? Now here, suppose, for example, finance sector talks about social financing and the networking and the people to be together and how do you go about it. It's not a question of how much capital that you have. The question that whatever the amount of capital that you have, how do you manage for the people together? The first question is more relevant for the capital system. How much capital is there? How much investment is there? How much profit is going to be made? So on and so forth. The logic of change, logic of development is different. Here it talks about, even if the capital, for example, or the finance capital is available to a bigger extent, to a limited extent, how do you manage it? For the people together, see that every workers, everybody really comes up, is able to strive, able to really create a space for himself or herself to survive and to grow. That is beside the whole question. And something which I felt so attracted to this model, especially on the finance, is something very important. Even I would say, I would request Dr. Arjun from the institution side to take note of this model and really to see that it gets replicated and also large number of people could get access to this kind of thing that he talks about. I really felt so personally, I felt very, anyway, now we're leaving it to the very, the enlightened panel that we have Professor Ajit Pande, is a noted sociologist. We have Dr. Meghadeepa Chakraborty. She is also has been working very hard and has done commendable job. And also Rajendra Paramanik, he is an economist and will be able to contribute from the economics point of view. And the conflicts and convergence between the two different models, the conflict with the existing one and the convergence with the existing one between the model that he talks about, even social financing, for example, in the Indian context, and the social financing that he talks about. These two frameworks are different altogether. Now, how really we could find areas of convergence and conflict? I think these are some of the issues that immediately has cropped up in my mind. I thought I should share with you, but now I'm leaving it to the enlightened panelist. Now, may I really request Professor Ajit Pande, to reflect on what Professor Morais has talked about.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Sunil Ray Sahab. I'm thankful to Dr. Arjun Kumarji, who has invited me. I'm also thankful to Professor Sunil Ray Sahab. I listened to Leandro Morais' lecture. That is one of the finest communications and the perspectives I could manage to have had today. Because I'm under the time constraint, I don't know how much I have to speak on. But Professor Leandros was talking about some of the shortcomings the available development perspectives are pregnant with. And he was providing the alternative, and that alternative, he was speaking of the social and solidarity economy. This is a viable solution to the rebalancing economic, social, and environmental objectives. I will not dwell on that because I have certain kinds of ideas, because any kind of perspective never comes from scratch. It must have certain kinds of background. And instead of elaborating the ideas of Professor Leandro that he has spoken, that is very clear in his communications, I could manage to comprehend all of his communications. But here I'd like to discuss some of the significant issues related directly or indirectly to his communications. I'll go back to the historical trajectory of capitalist development. And perhaps that is the one reason that maybe one of the background, perhaps this kind of perspective, Leandro's perspective, is coming into being. Because this capitalist development historical trajectory has failed almost to yield this socializable economy, which Marx predicted long back. I will not dwell on that because this will consume a lot period of time. I'll just speak on the 20th century. Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Just talking about the 20th century mutations of the capitalist mode of productions. Do not even on most sympathetic reading, if you read all of the literature within period of time, lay themselves open to collective appropriation and control. I'm sorry for this kinds of my franks are out. Maybe this I'll fall myself into the great, the problem. However, I dare to speak like this. The core forces of socialist politics, particularly in the western part of the world, the organized working classes have become demographically diminished today and structurally completely fragmented. The central institutional project of socialist politics, most of the countries are talking about, our part of the world, like Indian subcontinent, if you look into the constitution, passingly refers to that, has in its communist variants been completely discredited beyond all redemption, while social democratic welfare states of OECD, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, continue to grow beneath the dual pressures of international competitiveness because of the impact of globalization and democratic commitments. Now, the notion of equality, always the moral love of center of all entire socialist politics has as a normative ideal declining purchase. Once again, if I may say so, on substantial parts of increasingly affluent and individualized electorates, both in the Asian part of the world and Western parts. This conjecture has been registered to differing degrees by some of the scholars, the political scientists, the economists, and sociologists. A few names can be referred to: Gorge, Anthony Giddens from London School of Economics, Habermas, perhaps he's no more. But now I like to position Habermas's work. It is in Habermas's work that the limits to the various development paradigms have been most sharply drawn, and yet it is continuing relevance. It's continuing relevance to the problems of environmental degradation and politics most clearly stated. Once again, because of the paucity of time, I cannot elaborate it, but Habermas tries to trace, or perhaps he has stressed, the weakness of original Marxist socialist project to a number of significant theoretical limitations. Here lies the kind of background that I was trying to refer to. Leandro was trying to build an alternative, and this has namely, number one, that it is a productivist paradigm. Number two is a holistic conception of society that radically underestimated the schism of system and the life world. Number three, a fundamental miscalculation of relationship between social stratification and political agency. Number four, a woefully inadequate theory of the modern state, and correspondingly a fatal underestimation of the importance of democracy in complex societies that we are confronting today. Number five, an evolutionary model of history underscored by unacceptable normative presuppositions that cleared the way for unprincipled vanguardism. What Marx is, what I'm telling you, the limitations of Marx's political structures. So now these theoretical limits that Habermas trying to refer to have had baleful consequences for both the general success of Marxist-inspired politics, more specifically for its continuing relevance to sustainable development questions. The dominance of productivism that our professor, my friend Professor Sunil Ray was speaking about in socialist thinking, refers to both the centrality of economic power and economic issues in socialist political theory and practice. and model of economy that asserts the overwhelming value of increasing levels of productions and productivity to human well-being. This has left little space for critique of economic rationality that acknowledges ecological issues other than the dynamics of capitalism. Nor has it generated the intellectual resources for exploring the environmental consequences of consumption. This is what Professor Sunil Ray and Professor Leandro refer to. The mirage of an unproblematic abundance weighs heavily against socialism's environmental imaginations. Now, the holism of socialist thinking stands in contradiction to what Habermas is talking about, the bi-level model of society. And this bi-level is of system and also of life world, because socialist thought has failed to distinguish between these radically different domains of modern societies. It has maintained the illusion. Once again, I'm happy Professor Ray was time and again referring to that the enormous complexity and differentiations of modern economies can be brought in toto under the sway of public control and be consciously oriented towards the common good. However, I do not like to refer to now the Soviet Union experiences, because that will take once again a long period of time. However, social democracy has brought its success at a price. But anyway, slightly I like to elaborate the point that I have left.
Oh, will you please make short? Will you please make short?
Social democracy, I was just trying to talk about as a great historical alternative to these traditions. This is what is being reflected in Professor's communications. This disengaged itself from a holistic conception of society and embarrassment as the autonomous dynamic of a market system. Also, it has disengaged itself from a dogmatic view of class structure and class struggle, from a false evaluation of normative content of constitutional democracy. So whatever I'm trying to talking about, that the social democracy has ultimately brought its success at a price sufficiently high to question its coherence as a political force and its continuing relevance to the perspective on sustainable development. And these costs are of two kinds. Number one, the social democracy learns to live with normatively undesirable consequences of capitalist economic growth, which welfare states can ameliorate but not eradicate. And number
Professor
two,
Pande, Professor
yes,
Pande, if you can just make it very precise information now, because a lot of time is not much.
I am just finishing.
So you talk
Now,
about the,
I'm just concluding.
on solidarity economic.
I'm concluding, Professor Ray, that all have generated social pathologies and political cleavages, blockages that have undermined the entire success of ours or any part of the world. These pathologies of the state and the interconnected problems are in two terms. Number one, the political demoralization, and number two is social polarizations. That we can talk once again about these two concepts later on. And so under the backdrop of what Professor Leandro has spoken of, I wanted to make these points clear that ultimately all problems can be attributed to certain social pathologies in terms of the polarization, political demoralization, and social polarizations. And then you can talk of alternatives that Professor Leandro is talking about in terms of SSC. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much. Now, may I request Dr. Meghadeepa Chakraborty to reflect on that. Before that, let me tell you just one thing, just a small reflection. You see this, when Professor Leandro was talking about public control or public, together doing something, it's not necessarily that one has to remember Soviet Russia's model or that kind of communistic model. There are varieties of ways through which it can be done. And there are people, in fact, I myself have conceived a different way. And there are many other countries, for example, Mexico and the Argentina also, even for example, Cuba, they have been following a different ways of political collectivization, not necessarily of the type which used to be there practiced in China or even Soviet Russia. So let us forget about it. But the essential point of Professor Leandro was that is a kind of solidarity economy that could be emerging, within the same, as you said very rightly, the society gets polarized, and let's look for a situation where the resolution of the problem can be really found out. And precisely here is a model like social economy, which can be really of great help or instrumentality for the people to really come together to see something, not necessarily in the same way which Soviet people did and failed. Nothing of that kind. There are varieties of ways which can be done. That is what he is talking about. And he has shown the way as to how to go about. But anyway, it can be further discussed and further refined and see, go ahead and all that. This is a brief comment that I wanted to make. Now, Dr. Meghadeepa, yes, we are all waiting for hearing you very eagerly. Yes.
So thank you, Professor Morais, for such an interesting, lecture. And this is an important topic to address, and when we are in a situation of pandemic, because we have, if you see, even the SDG, we can say that not much of focus being put forward, considering that how important it is to consider social solidarity and social financing, because we talk about finance and it comes very materialistic view all the time, and we see development as also in that infrastructure development, and we also all the time confuse ourselves in the calculating that what level of poverty we have crossed and who are below poverty line, and that's how we concede always the our development. But from the paper that I have written, I have understood that every day when we talk about marginalized community, the people who are striving day and night to keep them survive, they have actually have a wonderful model which they have created by themselves to create that social economy, social financing, because this is there are immense of experience, like there are a plethora of experiences that shows that in crisis how they have really come up to survive. And then where the social network, community network, the trust, these things have really worked hard, like very pertinent role. And but when we talk about the macro development, we somewhere don't bring down those morality, those values that we have been taught from the families, from the very from our childhood. Somewhere we have actually forgotten those. But this is a challenge, like this is a big challenge to bring that in our entire development model. But I am very hopeful that we need more dialogue. We need to talk about not only financial literacy, but we need to talk about social financial literacy, because things are there. People need to bring it into their awareness. People have to identify that, and people need to come into an acceptance that economy can be created when there is trust. Because there are literature that shows that when there is crisis, this solidarity breaks down, but only it can rebuild on the basis of trust. Because I have seen these experiences in the drought, when the drought breaks down, it has been seen that people who were very much supported, families who have been supported each other for a longer period of time, suddenly they stop at the time. But also the institutions also don't deliver on the right time, but somehow they again rebuild that trust and they create their own economy and they survive. Okay, so I think that this is something which is very important. Second thing that I'm trying to just bring in, because India is not only diverse, and in the case of diverse, when you consider India, it's not only diverse in case of in terms of class and caste. It is diverse in terms of geopolitical scenario as well. Now I belong to Northeast India. I see that how to address this solidarity economy when it comes to conflict prone areas. It is also one of the significant thing that these days we are seeing the changes that communities in Northeast are coming up and building up their social enterprises. Northeast northeastern part of India is very much resourceful, but the economy that they can create was not being taken the way that is being addressed now through social entrepreneurship. So where we can also talk about another model that we have to come and bring like collaboration for the development of rural entrepreneurship, where people are already working through SHGs, coming up with the model of federations. Okay, and there where we see that trust plays a very important role. So, the transaction depends entirely on the trust. If you go and see all the small SHGs, their relationships. So I think those are the things that we need to, things are there, we need to bring into in a paradigm where we can understand that, okay, this trust, this collaboration, this cooperation are important if we have to really
Absolutely.
enhance our economy. Secondly, we also need to talk about, not only the mainstream areas of any of the countries or the very, but we also need to talk about those places where we can talk about cohesive development to happen when it comes to the conflict prone areas, where I'm really, I always think that despite of what changes I can see, despite of so much of struggle, community people, marginalized groups in different parts of Northeast are coming up with their enterprises, and they're addressing and working on the basis of trust, the basis of the resources they belong. And I think that model can work. So my ultimate thing, that the question that you put, how to go about it, I think that we need to talk more about social financing and social finance literacy than only financial literacy among masses. Second thing, I need that we need to have more and more dialogue on cohesive development, like the one that I am very thankful to IMPRI to bring it up, and to also Professor Ray for coming up with the book of cohesive development, where we have just initiated our dialogue to look in an alternative paradigm. And I don't feel hopeless that we can't bring a very different paradigm altogether. But this is something that we need to talk more, to bring into the awareness of the people, and also to question the development paradigm that we are having. So, and in that, I think that community network plays a very important role. So we need to, how we can work to strengthen those network, how we can work towards more collaboration, not only considering that all the big institutes, but also the community who had their own struggle, but they have, survived in a way with the support of their local resources, with the local kind of arrangements. I think we need to identify those, and then we can learn from those and can bring into the, our as a knowledge domain also, and then to bring into the practice. I think that's what my whole understanding of your, the whole understanding of how we can address the social economy and social finance. Yeah, thank you.
Professor Ray. Okay, Rajendra sir, why don't you start?
Thank you very much, Professor Leandro, for such a beautiful presentation. You have shared another success story of social finance from Brazil. That's great to hear. In India and many other parts of the world, we have such stories. Now, post-pandemic, taking a cue from what Dr. Meghadeepa told, post-pandemic, the requirement for more success stories of self-help groups and social finances, solidarity economics is required, because as per ILO report, good number of people have lost their jobs, and getting absorbed into the job market in future is seeming to be a daydream in near future. In such scenario, the role of a self-help group, microfinance, or any other such units which are part of the social finance is very critical. Now, my precise point as a discussant is to look at the digital divide that this particular pandemic has created at a global level. There are few countries where the digital divide is not so prominent, but some of the developing country and even developed country will face serious digital divide. And why digital divide is a critical point, because the sustenance and operation of self-help groups in near future will considerably depend on the digital platforms and its penetration. So that is one important thing that we need to look forward. And social network, as it has been already discussed, is being getting a backseat because of the pandemic. Over time, if things normalize naturally, it will get back on track. But one thing, the digital platform penetration is very, very critical. And that's what I feel personally, which is required to be addressed in such a discourse. Thank you very much. That's all from my side.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr.
Yes, sir, you're audible, please.
Arjun.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry that, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
I'm sorry that for a few minutes, this system there's a problem in the system. Now is all right now.
Yes.
But anyway, so I think all the panelists have been able to reflect on very solidly on this each and every issue. Now, Dr. Leandro, I don't see him here. Where is Professor Leandro?
Sir, he's here.
He's not able to see him.
If you'll speak,
Yeah.
then
Will you be able to, now if you have anything to
Yeah.
add or anything, yeah, why don't you just reflect on, and just maybe there's some questions here, there's some discussion. So maybe add something, or, your response to those things would be very important for us. Will you please do that? Professor Leandro.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you, everyone, for these elements to discussions. I think that, like as told us Dr. Rajendra, we need to think about these questions in post-pandemic scenario, because we have very bad consequences in the lives first, but also in the jobs and in the conditionals of the life of the people. Then we need to think in these questions more than before with the post-pandemic. And for this, like told us Dr. Meghadeepa, we need more dialogue, because we have a big challenge to face. And the community network is very important to empower the people to participate in the projects, to participate in the public policy, and to propose some different things, and not waiting for things, to propose in the governance parts, the participative and democratic governance. That it's a point that I think that's important when Professor Sunil told us about the operationalization in this process, in the process of the experience, but not only the Marika, Mumbuk experience, but other experiences that we have a relation between the participation of the people and the public policy and universe establish these ecosystems. And I think that here we have a good and important opportunity to start a discussion that we don't have more time to do this now, but to start, this is a seed to start a discussion between India and Brazil in these issues, in the SSE organizations, with our experience, with our fragilities, with our opportunities to have other experience, to know other experience. Yeah? And not only in economic aspects, but also in how to build, like Professor Pande told us, a collective appropriate of control. How can we build, construct the collective appropriate of control in a complex and modern economy? How can we have instruments, mechanisms in a holistic concepts to, in fact, to make a social democracy? Then I think that we have, in fact, a big challenge to discuss, to reflect, to propose, to, in our universities and institutions, to prepare the people, to prepare the people to build this experience. This is experiences. In Brazil, now we have a government that's not social, that's not democratic. And this is very bad for us. And how can we face this? With the empowerment of people in their territories, to give them instrument mechanisms, to try to construct the collective appropriate of control. And the experience of social finance is very important.
Absolutely.
To strengthen the organizations, because they have to have economic, financial conditions to produce, to commercialize, and to, in consequence, generate employment and wealth for the people. Then it's a big challenge, but I think that together we can think in possibilities, we can reflect the possibilities, we can share our problems, our solutions to, in fact, build a social and a thoughts of cooperation. Then I think that we have to schedule another space like this, virtual or Oxalá presential, because I would like to receive you here in my country, and I would like to back again to India, because I love the India people, I love the country, I love your history. And I think that in terms of social finance, we have so much to share and to learn together. Because of this, I would like to thank so much the invite, the opportunity, the trust to have this space to show you an experience and to learn and build together with you another reality, another world, another context, because we may have too small, but together we can get bigger, to help the people, to sensibilize the people, and to show for the people that another economy and another context is possible. Maybe it's a dream, but it's a pragmatic dream when we can build together and we can show that in some spaces, in some territories, we have some experience that is change something. Thank you very much. And it's I like it so much of this. I think that we have much more questions to discuss, to dialogue, to reflect together, and stay with you. It's a big pleasure to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Leandro. Any question, anywhere, anybody? I'm just keeping the forum open. So if anybody who is participating has any question to ask?
No, sir. I think you can also summarize. Sir, if you can summarize.
I can. I'll.
Yes, if you can summarize, conclude.
Anybody has any question?
No, sir.
No, nothing of that kind. I just now, all that I want to say that, this, I think whatever Professor Morais has told is something very, about his model is very, very important for us to take note of. But last few points I like to highlight, I like to underline. What he said is that we can all think together. Nobody has the monopoly on a knowledge. What we should do, a different context, a different model of change, we can dream about. And here, a forum like this, each and everybody will contribute to that idea. A day has come. It's not that somebody who is really at the helm of everything and producing the knowledge and rest of the people are following it. It's basically hegemonic control on knowledge. Stop it. Stop this process. Give emphasis to every individual entity. And see that everybody's contribution is being knitted very nicely together. It means that thinking collectively, doing collectively, surviving collectively is a mutual insurance. That is precisely a society we are dreaming about. Professor Leandro has talked about. Is it not possible to think? It is this solidarity that he talks about. Solidarity does not mean cooperativism of the traditional sense. Solidarity means you are an individual, I am also individual. You have your entity, I have entity. We have two separate entities. But now we have certain commonness. We are together, and to achieve something together, I respect you, we respect you mutually, and at the same time, I understand that you cannot survive without me, I cannot survive without you, and therefore that's going to begin together. So thinking together, doing together, constructing together, a time has come for us. And this is, if you really know, not simple, the gigantic, the COVID-19 has shown. It doesn't have a caste, it doesn't have a class, it doesn't have anything. It goes anywhere, attack anybody and kills everybody. Similarly, it is precisely where the human civilization has to really progress. Human civilization cannot progress based on a few people's prosperity. And therefore, Leandro talks about a social economy, an economy where society can survive, an economy where each and every social entity can really get recognition, and a society where each and everybody get access to what the nature, what the Almighty has given, if you put it this way. So it is everybody's access equal, and therefore a society of that kind we need to have, and therefore our thinking process has to be together. And this is where that is the basic background I could understand from Leandro's understanding. And based on that, he talks about what social economy could be, and social finance, how to manage the social economy, how really bring the social economy into a vertical fruition in practical shape to see that it sustains over a period of time. Look at SDG. A few days ago, I was asked by somebody to speak on SDG. I refused. And I said, no, if you want me to speak like a parrot, like what the World Bank, UNDP have been doing for years, no, not at all. First of all, tell me, did you have ever recognized that equal access to everybody? Did you have recognized the fact that the power relations works right from top to bottom? No, you never did. And if you keep these power relations intact, how do you go for sustainability? Power relations in terms of what is called power, money power, person's power, power and resources, compete everywhere. The power is a power in the government, and everywhere the power is a powerful people and powerless people. Very few powerful are there. The huge number of people are powerless. The taskless be going on. Do you recognize this fact? This power relation is something which need to be really tackled. We need to be talked about. We need to be dismantled. If you really want to say that one, then I am for you, SDG. Sustainability can be ensured logically and practically if and only if these existing power relations are dismantled. Unless and until it is not being dismantled, unless and until it is being totally questioned, and new power relationship based on what Professor Leandro is talking about with the people, the common. And that is the new power. Power with everybody, for the benefit of everybody, a new power relationship. And there you find this substantial reasoning as to why the sustainability of development can be ensured or development can be sustained over a period of time. This sustainability question has been talked about for years, and everywhere it is now 2030 or something they talk about. Nothing is going to happen. You keep the whole system intact, never disturb them. Let the powerful people go on increasing their wealth, go on increasing their everything, resource availability, the cornering, everything, and the rest of the people are deprived. Deprivation, discrimination, all types of, whether the caste discrimination, whether the racial discrimination, whether the deprivation, everything continues to happen is because of the kind of power relations that you have. And if you do not disturb this kind of relations, it will continue. Have you ever addressed that kind of thing in your SDG? No. Then why should I be there with you? It's the same story like a parrot that I have to utter. I have to go on talking about. I don't have the time to waste for that. It is precisely as if somebody is there to talk to me and tell me and convince me of this fact that what Leandro is talking about is something implicit in it. Very important that he talks about when he talks about social economy, social financing and ecosystem. This precisely ecosystem that he talks about, whether he explicitly recognized or explicitly talked about it, not basically this is what is implicit in his understanding. And then therefore, if you really take care of this one, I told these people that if you do not do it, let me tell you, is there anybody who can convince me on this one? Without this, it's possible for us to do it. You could not do it for last 2, 3 decades, 5 decades. And you have been talking about it like a parrot every time and telling the entire world, this is how it is going to happen. How much crores of monies, dollars being spent on doing research and sustainable development. But finally, what has happened? Nothing. You have on the one hand, tremendous amount of pressure on the natural resources. You are going to disband the Paris Convention. Earlier you did for 2, 3 conventions to dismantle, destroyed them. You destroyed the Kyoto Protocol. You destroyed everything that's been taken care at the international level to protect the nature. And now the Paris Convention is there, and they talked about, and you want to destroy this and saying that to all kinds of complications that you are raising. Now, this is one part, other part of the story. Let us get down to what Professor Leandro talks about. It is a small economy, what is called social economy. Let's talk about society for us, nature is for us, people all together. We will build up the society and construct the society in a different way. I will stop here. I don't want to talk much, but these learned speakers, 3 of them enlightened me. I personally felt enlightened by 3 of you. So much Rajendra's presentation. I'm sorry that I could not hear much because something went wrong with the system, but maybe that I'll get an opportunity again to hear him. But Professor Pande is possibly, I felt that if you would have given more time, he would have speaking more. He's such an enlightened person, enlightened speaker, enlightened researcher. So he could have been contributed more with that. At one point of time, I would request Dr. Arjun to invite him for a lecture, in this series. Perhaps he will be able to contribute us more, enlighten us more and all that. And of course, Meghadeepa, I know her. She has been contributing. She has been empathic and logically so sharp and all that. And she put forward her points so convincingly in a very short span of time. I really felt so enlightened. I felt so happy. And much more is that I would request Dr. Arjun that if possible, what Professor Leandro talks about, there's something which later on, you as an institutional director, your institution should really, if Professor Leandro agrees, develop contact with Professor Leandro and his university and have more exchanges of knowledge, more exchange of ideas and so on and so forth. Perhaps it's a good network at the international level that could be developed, all for the benefit of the good academics, very better productive academics, not the same story being talked for last 235 decades or so. What's called market economics, do you talk about, do this one, nonsense are going on, nothing is happening. Now, at the end of the day, what is happening, what is not happening? Professor Leandro's maybe if agrees, then Dr. Arjun can really take it over. Thank you so much. Thank you all, Professor Leandro, thank you. And thank you all the panelists to have been able to contribute to the discussion, enlighten every one of us, the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Arjun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So let me just quickly propose a vote of thanks. So, and first of all, let me congratulate Professor Leandro for his excellent work that you have been able to do and also present it to all of us to enlighten. Please do share more information. We'll collect all in the event web page and also disseminate with our people in our newsletter and so on. So on behalf of IMPRI, Center for Human Dignity and Development at IMPRI Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi, and Center for Development Communication and Studies, CDECS at Jaipur. We thank you, all of you, for being with us today in our special series, The State of Development Discourses, #Cohesive Development with Prof Sunil Ray. And today's deliberation, today's special lecture on social economy and social finance, the importance of strengthening their ecosystem by Professor Leandro Morais, joining us from Brazil. Thank you so much, sir. And there is so much to learn in terms of social policy between Brazil and India, and especially in this tough time. Let me tell that we at India, we all of wish good and good best wishes to Brazil and all the Brazilian people, and we look forward for more cooperation. And I'm also very thankful to all the discussants today, Professor Ajit, Pande sir, Dr. Meghadeepa ma'am, Dr. Rajendra sir, for being here, also contributing to this discussion. And I hope, as Professor Morais has said, that it's a journey. We are starting into this dimension which Professor Ray is leading. So I look forward to learning more from all of you. And with that, have a nice day and please take care. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sunil Ray. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Arjun,
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you, everyone, on behalf of
Thank
our
you, everybody.
institutions. And I'd like to really be in touch with you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good, Leandro. I want to see you again. I want to see you
Me
again.
too. Me too.
Okay. And
In
better
Brazil and in India.
And now with this IMPRI, I would suggest that you do have this contact with IMPRI. So it's a good network for, discussions and all that. Meghadeepa is also there. Meghadeepa will be also as a part of the network and all that. Of course, there is senior professor like Professor Pande and all that, and Rajendra, all this, they are contributing later on. But I think this is something which